Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Egberto is your host. Thank you so kind for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you as usual. How are all my peeps doing? Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Whoa, we got a lot of stuff in here already. Welcome aboard, Michael Rudden from Brooklyn, New York. Welcome aboard, Yvette Avery Howard from Atlanta, Georgia. Of course, we also have Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Atascocita. May Wood is in the house from Long Beach, California. We also have Bruce Pollard in the house from Kingwood, Texas, and E2247 from all over. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. We're going to have a great show for you today. Well, I guess I better start reading what you guys have on the screen. Let's see. Watching from Twitch, he says, family in the park, waiting to head out in about 20 to 30 minutes. It looks must you have great weather out there, huh? Glad to see that you have great weather out there. Anyway, Middle East Eye. Michael Radden, Israelis celebrate Rafah massacre as Jewish holiday bonfire. At least 45 Palestinians were killed by the Israeli strike on the area of Rafah that Israel had designated as safe and told displaced people to settle in. Last Friday, the International Court of Justice had previously ordered Israel to stop its offensive on Rafah. One of most shocking images from Rafah on Sunday night was a man holding up the body of a child that had no head. A member of a popular right-wing Israeli Telegram group shared a photo of the man holding the dead child, mock up as an advertisement selling chicken, which said, fresh chicken, 1 shekel a kilo. That is sad. But you know what? I've seen a whole lot of that kind of advertising, if you will, from the right wing in Israel. So it's not at all shocking by any nature. It is not at all shocking. All right. Second one, The Guardian in UK. Nikki Haley writes, finish them on IDF artillery shell during Israeli visit. You got to be kidding me. I didn't see that one. The former South Carolina governor's graphic display of support came on a trip to Israel's northern border with Lebanon, where she was accompanied by Danny Danon, a former Israeli ambassador to the United States, and a noted hawkish member of Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party in the Knesset. Her shell signing activities came at a time when Israel is engaged in a devastating military offensive in Gaza that has so far killed more than 36,000 Palestinians, an estimated 15,000 of them children. Talking to reporters, Haley was unapologetic, criticizing Joe Biden's administration for temporarily withholding weapons as a means of discouraging an Israeli attack on the southern Gaza city of Rafah and aiming barbs at the International Criminal Court. Say they don't believe in law and order unless the law and order protects them, not when they are the ones that perpetrate the violence, which is seeking Netanyahu's arrest, and the International Court of Justice, which is considering charges of genocide against Israel, which must be held. We must get the cause of genocide that must succeed. What else have we got here? Holy effing shit. For those criticizing Biden for his mishandling of the Israeli Gaza ongoing genocide, this is what happens if Republicans get hold of power again. Take note, Nikki Haley is considered a moderate Republican. There's nothing moderate about Nikki Haley, but yes, she's considered a moderate Republican. All right, Mythical Run says New York trial after closing argument. So, how are the conservatives in chat feeling? I am not sure. All right, let's see. Eric K says humanity at work. 90-year-old veteran pushing carts has 35K GoFundMe turned into 205 basis humanity and thanks for serving. Okay, that's a good thing. Eric Hayes, another decision on unthinking people spending money we don't have, nor the infrastructure to go with it. The White House unveiled nearly $900 million in awards to schools, 530 school districts, to replace of aging gas fuel school buses with new, mainly electric models. Who could actually find something bad about that? Again, only somebody who doesn't understand what investments look like. We took $900 that the government can create if they wish to, $900 million, and we give it to 530 schools to buy electric buses. We converted one form of asset into another form of asset. What's the problem? And in the process, we stop burning fossil fuels that make our environment worse, that creates the storms that we've never seen here in Texas that we're currently seeing. When I tell you that the right wing has taught its people to be willfully ignorant, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. It's a simple transaction. $900 million, we converted into another kind of asset, buses. The difference is those buses do something. They take old buses off the road and they don't burn they don't throw the carbon the old buses put in there. All around good stuff comes out of it. How can you complain about that? That is like how we have people complaining about unions, right? It is there to do a good thing. But your mind is so fried by what the right wing has contorted it into that you cannot see the validity, the goodness, the smartness, the intellect of doing that. Amazing. Bruce Pollard says, electric buses for schools not really getting at the root cause unless a huge solar farm is funded somewhere. Which, let's go ahead and expand that a bit. Solar might be a good option if we could reduce the energy burden making the cells. Actually, we get the energy burden to make the cells, but the cell's life cycle of 10 to 20 years means that is something that occurs once. And imagine as we populate with more solar, as we populate with more wind, the energy to build more solar, the energy to build more wind will come again from more renewable resources. The truth of the matter is that the earth has enough natural resources, green natural resources, to fund all our energy needs. But we'll never know that because the think tanks will never let this information get out there. If I don't remember what percentage of America would have to be covered in solar cells and windmills and other things to do that. But we have battery stores. And by the way, a battery isn't necessarily something that holds on to lithium, right? There are several ways to create batteries. We can have mechanical batteries, right? We can set a 1,000,000-ton weight, and when energy is abundant, lift that 1,000,000-ton weight into the air. And when we need energy, we put that upon a whole lot of turbines, and as it falls to earth at a constant rate, generate electricity. There are so many forms of batteries. A battery is a lake. We could pump water into a lake when there's too much energy generated from sun, wind, and others, and in the back, using as a back-end store. Later on, we release that. There are so many forms of batteries that doesn't have to have lithium, that doesn't have to have, what is the other? We use lithium and some other, cadmium and other materials to make batteries for people who say, oh my God, we don't have enough material quick enough. Yes, we do. It's not hard at all to, let's give some other examples. It's not hard to have a whole lot of energy coming from a solar farm that goes ahead and takes the water out of the below and throw it back up into Lake Mead. We can use natural resources and make more efficient turbines to dump more water to generate yet more electricity when we need it. I mean, there are answers, but the problem with the answers is capitalism doesn't solve it, because this is something that we would do with our own dollars. We would create dollars to do these things. We would use modern monetary theory to do it, because we won't have a profit motive for somebody to say, we can't do that because we can't find a way to skim profit and be parasitic about it. We have to tell the government, just employ people to go ahead and build those dams, to go ahead and build those solar farms, to go ahead and build these things. No profit, just payment to the people who build it. And the back end that we get out of it is a cleaner environment. But we have the current state of our economic system means we have to pass everything through capitalism. And once you pass it through capitalism, you have to get those parasites to make a whole bunch of money so that we can produce things. You see, a lot of people don't understand the concept because you were taught to be dumb. You were taught that you needed to be dumb and not understand these concepts, right? The only thing that stops us from doing the things that would make life better on earth has little to do with the ability to do so and everything to do with the economic system that stops us from doing it. Because somebody hasn't figured out a way that they can make a buck on it efficiently, when all the government needs to do is pay for it. Again, it's a different way of thinking, folks. It's a different way of thinking. All right, Eric K says, get in government office becomes a millionaire. Wait, get in government office, become a millionaire. Oh, and people in jail too. I don't understand that. Okay. All right, what else have we got here? What else have we got here? Let's get busy. Let's see what else have we got here. E224, Michael Ronan says, Bruce, the transition from coal-fired power plants to solar would be addressing the root cause all right. Eric's just pushing more culture war nonsense that only makes sense to the alt-right, as they cheerlead fossil fuels at everyone else's expense. Trolling the libs is more important to them than creating any brighter future. I mean, but it's not the fault of Eric. It's the fault of the people who Eric chose to, or who Eric has developed a level of trust, unfortunately, with those people. Those people are taking away a whole lot of the way his ability to think, but he's here with us. So I'm pretty sure some of this in the long run will rub off. Bruce, the transition from, no, I read that already. U.S. amphibious units are grounded on the beach, one of them in Stern grounded, so its recovery will be big dollars too, as Pear in Rebellion drives up the dollar cost by getting rebuilt and then towed back to Gaza. It's ridiculous. America needs to tell Israel, open all channels to feed these people, or else we stop funding, or else we vote in the Security Council that you are in fact an apartheid state and genocidal. That's what has to be done. I mean, right now Biden is playing with Israel because he's scared of what AIPAC can do. At some point in time, we're going to have to throw our hands up in the air and say, this is the right thing to do. This is an honest thing to do. This is an ethical thing to do. Because right now, what we're doing isn't honest, isn't ethical. In fact, it is outright immoral, what we are doing, what we are supporting. Outright immoral. You can't be a moral nation if you're supporting the genocide right now in Gaza. And I repeat, I have a video that I didn't have the time to finish it, but an Israeli Holocaust survivor and a scholar, he came right out and said it. What is occurring in Gaza right now is in fact a genocide. Don't mix your words about it. It's a genocide. All right. Let's see what else we said. We've exhausted ourselves. We walk, camp, vote, and all that get us is genocide. Use boycott. Vote your money. Stein, West, West, Biden, all of them, they only understand dollars. I think you're right. All right, let's see what else we got here. Egberto front loaded a bunch of comments as I'm going to be here for the as I'm not going to be here for the second half. You mean you're abandoning us for the second half? How dare you, Mr. Rudnan? You know I'm kidding you, brother. All right, let's go to E2247's analysis of the war. Day 236 since 7th of October 2023, at least 36,171 Palestinians dead, 371 persons more than day 231. What? Wow. At least 81,420 wounded, 1,409 persons more than day 231. 117,591 casualties equals 498 per day of estimated 5,385,012 people of West Bank and Gaza Palestinian population, with 36,171 Palestinian kills, 153 per day killed, 38% are kids and women. Were US to be in that situation, it would be equivalent to 7,348,103 people. Thank you for keeping us honest with listening to these numbers, my brother E2247. Eric K says natural gas buses are happening now, but it's still a fossil fuel. It still generates CO2 and nitrates, okay? Still does it. That we can get electric buses is a great thing. I know of two high schools in the state of Texas that one earlier on the first, I think it was the first infrastructure bill or one of the other one of those bills, they got it here. So that's a good thing. Lee Grant from Montgomery County is in the house with us. Welcome, Lee Grant. Bruce says, so let's talk about that economy video. Is Biden really the owner of the improvements? Not much, just like he is not responsible for the inflation. No, he's not. He's not responsible for the improvements, but the bill got passed under him, something that Trump was unable to do. Trump spoke about infrastructure week every week or every month. Every time something changed, infrastructure week, never got a bill passed. We have Brother Biden. All the people who had their projects that they wanted came up with the bill, and he got it passed. So no, Biden got the bill passed. He's not responsible for inflation, but he got the bill passed. Let's see what else we got here. Eric Hayes says fiscal responsible, paying for school bus loan for Harvard students that have 58 billion in saving. Same dumb thinking, EV, anything. Look, I don't see how one has anything to do with the other, but I can understand why you try to make the comparison. Lee Grant says, please don't be willfully ignorant by forgetting the hostages being still held by Hamas. Recent video shows beaten and bound Israeli women. Well, I don't know how you can see those videos and say that is recently, or look at that video and think it's not Israeli propaganda. I mean, it could be anyone's propaganda. I don't know. I am honest enough to know I don't know. But one thing I do know is Netanyahu is one of the better propagandists out there, because as he's killing people, as he's bombing areas where he says it's okay to be, what does that tell you? That is yet another example of the genocide. It's and this is going to sound horrendous, but I'm trying to see if I should say this. I will. I'll try to be as tactful as I can. Do you remember watching all those old movies about the Holocaust? Hurtful movies about the Holocaust, as Hitler's minions gathered our Jewish brothers and sisters from around Europe and put them in select areas and then gassed them or murdered them. Think about that. Now let's move to Netanyahu now. Netanyahu tell all these people, get on your feet and go to position X. And then Netanyahu bombs the crap out of position X. Similarities, people? Similarities? I mean, we're not going to talk about this on network TV. Of course not. We won't. But don't think people around the world are not seeing this. Don't think that people around the world don't see the similarities. Our Jewish brothers and sisters being marched to gas chambers, a fixed location to be exterminated. Netanyahu telling Palestinians to go to a particular area and then bombing that area. Similarities, people? Please, similarities? And you go ahead and you say it, and folks would want to accuse you of some sort of a ism. It doesn't work here. My friends are of every single faction. But just take a look at how it is, folks. Just take a look at how it is. All right, let's see what else we got here. Lee Grant says, how many days have hostages been in Gaza since October 7th, however many days that is? E22 need to figure out what Biden and our military are going to do for shipping Gaza humanitarian aid, as the airdrops are wholly fish. Even going with that port is insufficient. It is time for Bush. It is time for Biden to tell Israel, open up the border or else. It's that time. Humanity demands that. Perhaps France, UK should have stopped shooting at Germans in World War I and II once they killed as many as Germany did. No, that's not what we're saying. I mean, I can see that you're trying to be silly, but that's not what we're saying, my brother Mike Cisak. But anyway, let's go ahead and hear about Project 2025, because for those who want to talk about the potential of having the criminal in chief back in power, he will be a clear and present danger, not for Democrats, but for Democrats, Republicans, and others alike. Let's listen to what Ayanna Pressley had to say. Ayanna is a pretty smart woman. As we learn more and more about Project 2025, the more we see the clear and present danger that not only Donald Trump, but a sect of the Republican Party, what it represents to the American people. It shows us that, in effect, if these guys take over, we are just going into what I call the Talibanization of the American political system. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
And we must sound the alarm. Project 2025 is a far-right manifesto. It is a 1,000-page bucket list of extremist policies that would uproot every government agency and disrupt the lives of every person who calls this country home. I won't detail every aspect, but I'll share some highlights. The Department of Education would be eliminated, cutting students off from civil rights protections and ending essential Title I funding for K through 12 schools. The Department of Justice would go on a murdering spree. It would rush to use the death penalty and expand its use to even more people while circumventing due process protections. Project 25 not only calls for national book bans in schools, but also creates a list of banned words for the federal government that would be deleted from, quote, every federal rule, agency regulation, contract, grant, and piece of legislation that exists. End quote. Here are just a few of the words on the list: diversity, gender, reproductive health, and of course, conservatives want to ban the word abortion. On that note, abortion care would be inaccessible and illegal no matter where you live. Take it from them. On page 6 of its playbook, Project 2025 states, quote, the Dobbs decision is just the beginning, end quote. People, even in my district, the Massachusetts 7th, a leader in repro justice, would be criminalized for pursuing essential health care. Now, we could have an entire hearing on how these policies would quite literally ruin and end lives. And I didn't even touch upon proposals for housing, climate change, worker protections, and more. If enacted, Project 2025 would destroy the federal government as we know it.
Ayanna Pressley nails it. It will not be the America that we recognize if the implementation of Project 2025 comes into fruition. Again, women, forget it. You've lost all your rights. Corporations, forget it. They now decide everything. Environmentalism, forget it. Free speech, forget it. Now, to purge the government from using words like climate change and all these other words, DEI, all of these things are excommunicated out of the documents that make up our body politics. I tell you what, folks, they talk about a lot of these people like to talk about communism and all that kind of stuff, not really knowing what they're talking about. But what these guys are wanting to do is complete indoctrination and a fascist state. It is clear from the document. I have not read all 900 pages at all, not even 10% of them. But in the synopses that I've been getting throughout, and I probably should start reading it shortly, what we're looking at is America becoming a living hell if this were ever to come to fruition. So mark our words, folks. This isn't time for games. This isn't time for maybe, we just don't like Biden. I mean, who cares? I don't particularly care for Biden, but I know one thing: existentially, one likely or not, one must vote for not Mr. Trump. Because if he ever becomes president again, it's not that he will be able to do so much that's bad. It's that all the bad folks, all the people representing evil comes out of the woodworks to work for him. And they will get done the things that they've wanted to do for a long time. And he will be there being the rubber stamp for them all. Remember, the guy doesn't have much upstairs, but he's a hell of a performer to some. For me, he's a jackass, but for many, he's a hell of a performance. For me, he's a dummy, but for many, they see a certain level of intelligence and intellect because he's dumb. Again, there's something that has happened to us all. Not to us all. There's something that has happened to some. Absolutely so. Absolutely so. But yes, my dear Bridge MCP, I have that file, and what I'm doing right now as we speak is I'm queuing that for you so that I can go ahead and provide that to you, sis. I know. Let me go ahead and fix a name change here. 1, 2, 3, 4, so that I can get that video to you as soon as I can. But I'm doing it right now as we speak. Let's get it up there. Let's see. I'm going to put that video up there for you as we do it. It's uploaded, and this is a standalone video with Ayanna Pressley. What I'm going to go do is I'm going to just go ahead and get it done, because what happens is when I just came across that video, and I said to myself, you know what? I better get that out as soon as possible. And the reason why is because it's real. It's one of those real things out there. So I'm clocking that there, turning that on. And now that I've uploaded it correctly for our dear Bridge MCP, here it is coming to you right this minute. Folks, I hope you enjoyed that, but that's the kind of battle we are going to be fighting for a very long time. And I'm going to play something else that Farid Zakaria with his new book, Age of not war, but I don't remember what it is. Okay, let's go here, make it public so she can see it. And now that it's public, I can go ahead and say publish it. Now that it's published, okay, Bridge MCP, here is the Ayanna Pressley and Project and I spelled project wrong. Project 2025. And there you go. It's all yours. Anyway, folks, look, let me read some of what you're saying back there. Vidija MCT joined the house. I don't know if I told her that before. Eric says propaganda comes in numbers produced by Hamas too via statistics. Yeah, but the thing with Hamas is we can see the genocide in real time. Let's remember that. Mike Cisak says perhaps no, I read that one already. Egberto Willis, do I have the video? I just gave that to you. Michael says the things that conservatives really want to do are crush the poor, control the women, demonize them, then push the other, though who the other is does change over time, while creating a hierarchical society where the filthy rich and conservatives lackeys are on top. That's about right. Lee E2247 have a message for Lee Grant. It's 76 years since May 15, 1948, when Al-Nakba, creation of Israel, victims, refugees were herded into Gaza as hostages, allowed to live freely in Palestine as their families had for 2,000 years. Yep, that's true. That is true. All right, let's see what else have we got here that needs to get talked about before I move to the last video. We have here Faraver, legal U.S. resident since 1975. After imprisonment and a sham trial, Professor Al Aryan agreed to be deported to Turkey. What is that one about? Did I miss something there? I guess I missed something there. Anyway, folks, we have one more video that I need to show you. But before I go to the video, does anybody want to call and make mention of anything? I don't have let me go ahead and put the phones on. How comes there's no phone message on that? What's going on there? Maybe I need to do that. There we go. Give us a call, 281-823-7747. Anybody wants to call in, 281-823-7747. Let's talk. Anybody wants to add to the discussion, 281-823-7747. I'm going to wait another minute before I play the other video, which is about 8 minutes long, 7 minutes and change long. Anybody wants to call in and make their point, please do so now. All right. I'm going to wait a few seconds and then we're going to move on from there. But anyway, folks, it's very important. Let's go ahead. You have a great one, AVQ. Thanks for being here. You're an invaluable portion of our team here. All right. Let's go ahead and get that other video started, and we'll do that right this minute, right now. Buddy Zakaria appeared on This Week with George Stephanopoulos to discuss his new book, Age of Revolutions. And one of the things that I got out of the interview is something very profound. He points out that this MAGA movement, which is sort of a cultural movement, an anti-woman movement, an anti-liberal movement, is not just here in the United States, but throughout the world, including Russia, Iran, even Israel, and other places. Now, I think I agree with what he's saying, but I think it's more profound. I haven't read his book to see if he goes into more detail about this, but I want you to first listen to what he has to say about these cultural involvements that's occurring that have us all in a tizzy about what's going to happen throughout the world, and then we'll take it, because it seems like he's saying the entire world right now is because of the movement to liberalize women, the movement to liberalize quite a bit has messed with the people in power who are now trying to claw back. But I think he gives too much credit to the United States as being the one who is going to save that from occurring. Let's listen to this and we'll take it on the other side.
And this is all against the backdrop of what you call one of the most revolutionary ages in history. So where does this fit in?
So in a sense, if you think about what Iran is doing, what Russia is doing in Ukraine, what China is doing, all of these countries are deeply uncomfortable with the Western-led, American-led liberal world order. And a lot of, for them, this is kind of an existential threat. So they're pushing back in ways that they find they can. The Russians do it in Ukraine. The Chinese are trying to do it with regard to Taiwan. And for Iran, the strategy has always been to try to, in some way or the other, use its array of proxies to push back against what it sees as an American-led Middle Eastern order. So there's almost a kind of cultural dimension to this. They don't just fear American power. They fear American values.
You talk about culture. We're seeing that here at home as well. And you're saying that former President Trump and his candidacy is a culmination, not the cause of an identity politics revolution. Explain what you mean by that.
So I think for the last 30 or 40 years in this country, we have had an identity revolution on a scale most people don't realize. I mean, think about the role of women. For thousands of years, women were second-class citizens. And thank God, that has changed in the last 30 or 40 years. Blacks, Hispanics, gays, everyone is rising out of the shadows into the mainstream. That has unnerved a lot of people. That has unsettled a lot of people. And you're seeing a cultural reaction to it everywhere. By the way, Islamic fundamentalism is fundamentally, obsessed with the idea of the role of women, put them back. If you look at Christian nationalism, similarly worried about the role of women. If you look at the ultra-Orthodox in Israel, so there's a very broad cultural reaction against it. Trump, I've always said this, Donald Trump is not a good businessman, but he's a good salesman. And he can sense, I think in that 2016 campaign, he could sense where the crowd was. And he realized the core issues were not, as they had been for Republicans for decades, economic issues. There were cultural issues.
So you say this is a global phenomenon. Can this global phenomenon be contained, this backlash?
It's up to the West to have confidence in itself, up to America to lead the West. Even Xi Jinping, by the way, has been giving speeches about how women have become too liberated. They need to go back into the kitchen and have more babies. The key challenges in Ukraine, probably even more than here. But, this is the big question for the future. Can the United States keep the West together, continue to believe in our values and push back? Because if we don't, those other forces are determined to unravel the Western-led liberal order, American power, and again, American values. What Putin and Xi and the Iranian mullahs fear is that Western liberal values are going to undermine their base of support. So for them, this is existential. They're going to fight. The question is, are we going to fight back?
I get what he's saying, but I think, as usual, he gives us here in the United States a bit too much credit. He talks about Iran. Again, most of us have learned to hate Iran, not noticing that the evil that we put on Iran for the things that it does, we went into Iran and actually tried to do some evil on them by ripping them off with their oil. There's quite a bit there. The same can be said with certain things done throughout the world that we have done. So we shouldn't be on too much of a high horse that these guys are bad, we are good. These guys are just guys, we are just guys. We are rich, but we are rich because in order to remain rich, we did a lot of things to different countries overseas, not just in the past, but even as it stands currently. But we don't present the whole big picture. And when we have these other people fighting against us across the world, most Americans are completely ignorant to what we are doing to cause the gestation of what people are doing towards us. And until we have a full understanding of the world, a full understanding of what we've done, a full understanding of how we can be so rich, a full understanding of how we can have so much with so few people, we will probably get a better picture. Now, when it comes to things like gender and cultural issues, I mean, we have to remember a lot of these countries, including some of these Muslim countries that we think are so far behind or that we think are somehow, from a cultural standpoint, the way they treat their women, etc., we should have a little bit of humble pie and remember a lot of these countries have elected women as their leaders. Let's talk about India. Let's talk about Pakistan. Let's talk about England. Let's talk about several countries around the world, Argentina, Brazil, have elected women, and we have yet to do that. We claim to be the bastion of liberty for women and everybody else. We have yet to do that. We just got our first first black vice president recently. Costa Rica had one temporarily. We can keep talking about these issues. Colombia has one now. So it is important for us to be a bit more humble. I think the entire world would benefit from that, not only externally, but internally, as we are able to preach, not from a level of hypocrisy, but from what we're doing. MAGA will only survive if we continue to fool ourselves. And MAGA will continue around the world until there's some honesty in how we deal with cultural issues. All right. Okay. So exactly right. I hope you guys got that. Now, I'm going through the list here, and I see that ask Egberto to read my post. What's your post, Carl Cox? Let's see if I can find it. Sometimes your posts simply don't come over. I think it. I'm not sure what's the reason why. Carl Cox says, "Don't I see it?" Post again. Let's see if I can find. I don't see your post. All right, Carl Cox, I don't see your post. Kiss Democracy Goodbye is the only post I see from Carl Cox. Anyhow, Lee Grant says Trump is ahead in most polls. What will the left do if Trump is legitimately elected? If Trump is legitimately elected, then he's legitimately elected. No two ways about it. But here's the thing. Nate Cohn did a very important piece on the crosstabs in the election. And what he found out is that while Biden's support is coming, strong support is coming from those people who elected him in 2020 and subsequently people who vote, the people that's really padding Donald Trump's bottom line in votes, etc., are people who don't vote, lackey voters, etc. So as it turns out, even as he shows to be neck and neck with Biden, it turns out that it may not even be that close. Because if these are people that generally don't vote, unless he does something to get them out to vote, and I don't know if constantly begging them for money ultimately is going to do it, because eventually they may come out and say it costs too much to support this guy who's supposed to be a billionaire. As the people in Appalachia struggle, and this billionaire flies around in his plane and do his thing, I don't think so. Carl Cox says, give Ukraine offensive weapons, not Israel. I can live with that. Eric K says, Biden's labor secretary could be forcing taxpayers to foot $32 billion in unemployment fraud she caused in California. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Do not fly Boeing, according to E2247. Its weapon GPU-39 small diameter bomb was used in the Rafah tent camp Saturday. Do not fly any airline using Boeing. Vote your dollars, no Boeing. Lee Grant, Mike C6 says Lee Grant, most likely they will burn the country down. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. But again, he's not winning, so we're going to never find out, right? Maywood says, you just like neoliberals and conservatives, just looking for the medicine, profits, and to hell with the long-term effects. That's true. Carl Cox says, I read that one already. And Eric K says, Maywood, business is not a non-profit organization. It's not just an expense. But he says people will really vote this year. Trump is broke. He sold his jet to a donor. He will be a felon. And imagine a felon can be the president of the United States. Now, don't tell me that the Constitution is not flawed. A felon could be the President of the United States. I just find it amazing. I just find it amazing. Anyway, folks, I don't have any more videos to show you, and I think we're now, that was our last topic. I have a couple more, but we don't have the time to go over it with about 8 minutes left in the program. So unless somebody give me a call right now, and let's start talking by phone. Set 281-823-7747. The lines are all open. 281-823-7747. Who do I hear from first? Let's have somebody call in. I'd love more people to call in like they do at KPFT. KPFT, it's vibrant in the morning. And here it's vibrant on the chat, but not vibrant on the phone. But I like to bring your voices in. So let's see who will be the first to call me at 281-823-7747. I await your call. I'm going to wait for another minute, and if I don't get a call, I will then go into doing what we need to do, which is, let's see, and okay, I see that. Go ahead and give us a call, 281-823-7747. And there we go. I am here speaking to the one and only Bridge MCP. Bridge MCP, how are you doing, young lady?
I'm good. I'm not having the storms you guys are having, that's for sure. But we are getting rain, rain, rain.
You know, we had
Constant.
the Houston area lost power in 1 million homes. Remember, we don't have a backup grid like the rest of the country. We are just a Texas grid, except there's a little corner that's a little tiny corner of Texas that because the location shares the grid. But other than that, Texas don't want to follow the laws of the land, so their grid is separate from everybody else. Very silly. And in Houston,
What's
when we
ridiculous?
yeah, it's ridiculous. So we had 1 million people out of power for a large percentage of that for a week or more, and then we got some storms yesterday afternoon again, and it knocked out another 500,000 people from power. It's so this is Abbott
God.
State, man. This is a high tech state, and can you believe that happened? Go ahead, beautiful.
Yeah, I can't because I mean you've had this trouble before with the grid, and they still won't join the rest of the world.
No,
They should just succeed.
and they
But
keep
anyway,
electing these clowns.
I know. Well, look who's on your show, Eric. I mean, really? I mean, I think Eric's head, his brain is full. He needs to download the Partridge Family, whatever bull he has up there, and like get real information in because he just repeats and repeats and repeats. I don't understand him. I don't know what happened to him. He's just gotten worse and worse. That's why Eric, I'm sorry, but I don't know what the heck you're talking about. Anyway, and yes, Eric, I do know his banking because I read real newspapers and real, sites. Trump did sell his jet to his biggest donor, or one of his biggest donors. That was like 4 days ago. Keep up. Yes, rinse and repeat. It's funny how the chat goes when I'm talking. So, yeah, it's really hard. I'm an administrator to a group here. It's like 40,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very hard lately because of the trial going on. And we are in New York, and we know New Yorkers. When De Niro was talking, I was laughing because I was like, we warned you. We know him from then. I've been in bars with that man. He's an obnoxious. We tried to tell you, but here he is, just whining about crap. Joe Biden has nothing to do with New York State law. He can't. Why is he blaming Biden on the stuff that he did? Why are all the witnesses Republican? There's no Democrats up there. They're all his own people finally coming out and talking. I mean, it's so stupid. One of the admins for our group is a judge, or was a judge, and she explains everything to us. And that judge, Merchant, whatever his name is, he gave the jury such a wide range of how to convict him that I think the newspaper The Hill came out and said it's not fair. So there's that. But he gave that, even if they all don't agree, he gave them options on how to agree. So it could be 4, 4, and 4, and he could still get convicted. because there's 34 counts. It's going to take a while to go through them all. But so people are going crazy about this because they've had enough of him. And they just keep talking about him and talking about him. It's like, stop. I keep telling people, don't watch the news. Turn everything off. Well, 5 o'clock, that's enough. But anyway, I just wanted to express that it's been really crazy in New York right now. It's
Well, what are your thoughts,
Really
Bridge? Is he going to be convicted?
I think he will be.
Well, that would be a very,
He's got
very.
two lawyers.
Hmm.
I was going to say there's 2 lawyers on the jury, and the rest are professional, educated people. So, yes, I think he will get something. I mean, even if he is convicted and he becomes a felon, would he go to jail? Probably not.
Probably not.
They'll probably
Yeah.
give him some fancy gold toilet to go in or something. But, I mean, he definitely is. I think he's going to be convicted. I think so. I think he will.
Well,
And
I
it's not going to
think
be
for
any
the
outrage because he doesn't even have people.
right, for the sake
Yeah.
of the country and to the belief in the justice system, if he doesn't get convicted, while the petty thief never gets a problem getting a conviction, when this guy is the biggest thug in our country, the biggest thug in our country, if he gets off, our legal system is a joke because this guy has done
Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
so much harm.
Yeah.
So
And
I
it is. And I hope he does. I mean, Carl Cox just said it just takes one juror, but the judge covered that in his rulings. And when he told them, whatever he told them how to deliberate, he kind of addressed that about being one person. So even if one person says not guilty, there's 34 counts. So that doesn't even come into it. I think that it'll come around to that. And if he is found innocent, oh God, I mean, you can't be in service with being a felon. How the hell can you be president?
well,
Doesn't make no sense.
the other thing that you're saying there is if he's found uh, not guilty, like I said, it would be a shame because it would show that the justice isn't blind and it's all a sham. And if he's convicted and the people that support him still supports him, it just shows. Well, I have a friend who uh, interestingly talks about morality all of the times, and you kind of wonder, well, how can you be talking about morality and what you don't want your kids seeing in school and all of that when this guy says the things that he says, not at midnight, but in prime time? Come on, it's a joke.
Oh yeah, that's all he does. And everyone, the Christian right, whatever nuts they are, they don't seem to care that that they don't believe he has any of these charges, but they don't seem to care. They don't care. I have people here where I live, and they're like, no, that's not true. That's just bullshit. I said, because you listen to Fox. You don't
Yeah,
listen to other people. I mean,
but you
that's
know
the
what,
thing. I mean,
Bridge?
I'm willing to listen. And
You and I listen, and I listen to Eric, I listen to CSEC, I listen to all of these folks. I mean, but if you're wrong, you're simply wrong. Math is absolute. But I tell you, while we
well, that's
sit down
it.
here and talk, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's it. 1+1 is not 4, and
Yeah,
they keep pushing that.
right. And here's the other thing as well, right? The important thing that you have to notice, and Eric, invalidating others is not listening. No, we
I
listen,
know.
then we invalidate. Here's it, and this is what folks don't understand. I have a platform for everybody. Everybody can say as they please here. In fact, Bridge, a lot of times you would have liked me to say, "Oh, it's time to start banning people." I don't believe in that. I give everybody a platform. And the thing about it is, what's interesting is the fallen, and I want everybody, right winger, left winger, to hear what Eric says when he says invalidating others is not listening. That's false. Invalidating others
True.
sometimes shows the most profound form of listening. To be able to say, after we've heard this, analyzed it, we invalidate the statement as being wrong. as being incorrect,
Right.
as being having been led by misinformation. But they don't understand that. They understand that it's either if
No.
you go ahead against what I say, somehow there's something no wrong. I'm sorry. No, if you're wrong, you are simply wrong. Go ahead, Badish, before we close this baby out.
That's it. If you're wrong, you're wrong. I mean, I listen, and then when it gets to be ridiculous, I'm like, what? That makes absolutely no sense. I mean, Lee Grant, I like him. He just wrote, "Wokeness suggests that math is racist." What the hell are you talking about? What does that even
You know,
mean?
let
I
me
don't
tell you what it
understand it.
means, right? It's you see, they take snippets of truth and then put it out. Let me give an example of what they're talking about, and I'm gonna just use 30 seconds to do this. If you go ahead and give a problem where you're using, let's say you give an algebraic problem where you're using a cup and a saucer, and there's a particular culture that doesn't use cup and saucers, so you don't know what the numerical value of a cup and saucer is. A cup and saucer is not one thing; it is two things. So a person who is not of that culture could make a mathematical mistake and do that. So what these people who bring these items up says, when you're building tests, you have to try to make tests culture neutral so that the mistakes that are made are not caused by anything otherwise. And that's what they're talking about. But again, it is so sad that that many of these guys talk about Jesus and all these things about inclusivity, but when it comes to these issues, they can't see. But Bridge, I gotta go. So, my dear beautiful lady, thank you for
I heard
calling
that.
in.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
analogy.
Thank you so
All right,
kindly,
bye.
my sister. Have a good one. Anyway, folks, I got to get out of here. Please remember to support the program. I ask you so kindly. How can you support the program? Support the program by going to politicsdoneright.com/Patreon, politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Consider becoming a patron. Likewise, please consider, or otherwise, instead or as well, please consider becoming a paid subscriber of our newsletter. How do you do that? You go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. You can get all of our books at politicsdoneright.com/books. But what we're really wanting to do is build a whole group of folks that decide we want to support you by subscribing and paying for the newsletter. Anyway, I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.